Well, let's see what the polls are saying, because there's only a week to go until America chooses its next president after the craziest campaign I've ever seen, maybe the most consequential. Now, on the one side, there's Donald Trump, who survived 2 assassination attempts, 2, and 4 legal wars by Democrat prosecutors trying to get him jailed and out of the way. On the other, we've got Vice President Kamala Harris, who took over as the Democrat candidate after Trump smashed Dottery President Joe Biden in their one and only debate. Again, on the one side, there's Donald Trump, who's created almost a cult, drawing massive crowds even in left-wing New York yesterday. Today, boasting was a bigger draw than even former President Ronald Reagan. And then on the other, there's Harris, an airhead propped up by celebrities like Bruce Springsteen today, and running on one thing above all: she isn't Donald Trump, who she's now branding a Nazi.
We understand the opportunity that we have before us to turn the page on the fear and divisiveness that have characterized our politics for a decade because of Donald Trump.
The polls have said the late momentum is now with Trump, but both sides today are dealing with last-minute embarrassments. Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, is now accused of sleeping with and abandoning a Chinese student back when he was teaching English in China, leaving her feeling suicidal, she says. She also said to be a former, the daughter of a top communist official. Well, how about that? On Trump's side, they're dealing with the fallout from that racist joke told by a comedian at yesterday's Trump rally, a joke I showed you last night, that the Trump crowd actually booed, but which Harris has instantly exploited to get the Latino vote.
A floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
I will never forget what Donald Trump did. He abandoned the island and offered nothing more than paper towels and insults. Puerto Ricans deserve better.
Well, what Kamala Harris said that Donald Trump did, only giving paper towels, is a lie, of course. It's been well exposed before, but what does that matter to her? Joining me is Sean Spicer, the first White House spokesman of President Donald Trump. Sean Spicer, great to see you again. This election, of course, just for the viewers, is decided by how each state votes. And it's set to come down to 7 swing states, the battleground states. In the West, you've got Nevada and Arizona, and then Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, and then the big one, Pennsylvania. Sean, looking at those 7 states, what are the polls now saying?
So it's interesting because not only are those 7 battleground states in play, and I think, and I'm trying to be objective here, like just so the viewers know, right, I support Donald Trump. But in every one of those states, when you look at the battleground polls in them, Donald Trump is either ahead or the wind is at his back in every single one of them. Early vote in Nevada, which Republicans have never led, suddenly Republicans are up. Same thing, Georgia, we're seeing unbelievable turnout for Republicans in the early vote, which is where Democrats tend to bank their vote. But here's the real interesting thing about this, Andrew. There's 4 what I would call tier 2 states: New Mexico, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Virginia. And we saw a poll out today in New Hampshire showing Donald Trump up a 0.5 percentage point. Now, is that big? No, in itself, no. But this is a state where Donald Trump had been down 6 to 10 points. And the reason I bring this up is that we're seeing it not just there, but in New Mexico as well. And if you start to see that in the tier 2 states, then it really tells you where we are in the tier 1 states. The wind is at Donald Trump's back in these final 7 days. I feel good about every one of them.
Well, if you're right, this could actually turn out to be a blowout, really. Trump's big issues have been cost of living, of course, things worse under Biden and Harris over the last 4 years, and illegal immigration. Biden and Harris leading around 10 million illegal immigrants. I was also enjoyed some of the lines in his speech yesterday where he's talking about things like tearing up the Green New Deal, which is a huge scam, global warming scam. What a waste of money. Harris's issues, a big one, is abortion rights and simply not being Donald Trump. Of all that, what is biting?
Well, I think the first 2 that you mentioned, look, at the end of the day, economic security and personal safety always trump everything else. because you can't, no other issue will matter if you're not safe or can't take care of yourself and or your family economically. And so as long as those are the dominant issues, they benefit Donald Trump. One, because the incumbent party doesn't do well in either of those circumstances. And two, because uniquely, he has a record of results to point to. So he can literally say, here was the unemployment rate under me. Here's what it is under Harris and Biden. Here's what the crime rates were under me. Here's what they were there, right? That's a very unique thing in a campaign. And Donald Trump, you talked about that Madison Square Garden epic rally that he had Sunday night. That's where he really is honing in on. The last couple ads that they have are crystal clear. It's about policy. And Andrew, as I said, I mean, when people can't take care of themselves financially, when the cost of buying basic necessities, food and gas and things like that are becoming prohibitive from them, then they vote for the campaign and the candidate out of power. They want change. And the other thing is just plain old safety and security. And we're seeing that over and over again with stories throughout the country of people in this country illegally committing crimes. This issue is just something that's constantly in the news, and there's no greater contrast between Donald Trump and this Harris-Biden administration when it comes to securing the country than on immigration and border security.
Actually, Sean, I reckon just like we saw after Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, suddenly revisionist books about everything that went wrong that the same writers weren't saying at the time. What do you think? What's the early draft of history now? What will they say when Kamala Harris loses about where she lost it?
I think that you're putting your finger on a question that I've been trying to get to myself, because I think there's different versions, and it's going to be interesting which one wins. Is it that Biden didn't get out early enough, that she didn't engage with the media early enough, that her policies and inability to explain those policies or why she flip-flopped? But there's a variety of choices. I just don't know which narrative is going to take hold. And I also think, Andrew, I don't want to be cynical, but I think that they're going to come up with a new excuse that somebody interfered with the election the way they did with the Russians in 2016, because they can't fathom. I talk to Democrats all the time. They just can't believe they're losing to Donald Trump. So I don't know. I think that there's real answers, and then there's ones they're going to make up to make themselves feel better.
I think you're right. They're going to say she should engage with the media more, and et cetera, but I think that's overlooking one critical fact that we've talked about before. She's actually a hopeless candidate. Absolutely hopeless. And the more media she would have done, the sooner she would have crashed and burned. Sean Spicer, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
See you soon, Andrew. Thank you.